So don't you think this is the most exciting night of the year? Woohoo! Where is Sam? Okay, great. Okay, you're here. Good. In a moment, I'm going to ask Anne Ford and her husband, David Ford, to join us up here to introduce Anne and Sam Waterston. This program tonight is in honor of David's father, David B. Ford, who is a former member of our board, a very beloved member of our board, a tireless fundraiser, a passionate preservationist. He restored Miramar, which is down the street at Plantation in Virginia, and a very committed environmentalist. So you will like him very much, Anne. And we are very honored to have David and Anne here from Philadelphia to carry on the legacy of your father, David. I want to spend a little bit of time thanking a lot of people in this room. But mostly I want to thank all of you because it is your gifts and your ticket purchases which help keep places like Rosecliff in good shape. This house 2 years ago was restored, and it was a top-to-bottom restoration that cost us $7.4 million. And it is worth every penny. So you can imagine the dust and grime and grit that accumulates over a 9-month restoration effort. So at the close of it all, we called our very best friends, our trusted partners, to finish the job, and that was DAI Restore. And the Gervasio family is sitting here in the second row, and they deserve a round of applause because they are specialty cleaners. We trust them with all of the attention they give to helping make our houses look great in the same way if we had the manpower we would do. Here at Rosecliff, the job entailed, and you've seen some of the pictures on the screen, work on the plaster, ornamental plaster, work on the marble, on the woodwork and original services. They bring to the job deep respect for craftsmanship and materials and the history that is embodied in these spaces. And 2 years later, it is so nice to have them be the sponsors of tonight's event, DAI Restore. We thank you very much. I also want to thank the company that is our newest partner in preservation and is sponsoring our whole summer of lectures, and that is Grandy Masonry. And I'm sorry, Grandy, I didn't let you sit in the front seats. We had to kick you out, but you're over there, and you deserve a round of applause, so thank you. We promise the next time around you will have front row seats. I also want to recognize a man who did a tremendous amount of work to get Sam Waterston here in Newport, and Anne Thompson. And that person is, and I'm going to ask, this person is a former marketer. He was a longtime advertising executive. He is now a full-time filmmaker, just created a first ever documentary of Ken Burns. And wouldn't it be great to have Ken Burns come to Newport sometime? And Dante Bellini is in the doorway, and we just love Dante. And we are very grateful for all the work that you've done. I also want to draw your attention to several key people associated with the Preservation Society. Our newly elected chairman of the board, Peter Harris, here in the first row. And then several trustees who are in the audience and not here. Don Steiner, who is one of our really valued members of our board, could not be here tonight, but he is one of the underwriters of tonight's talk. And Cindy Reed here in the first row, and Dale Venturini here in the first row. So bravo to you all. And then we have 4 extras who were in the show here in the audience. I hope you're going to all stand up. I think you should. And I want to point out that these people, when they were making the film, were paid $1.65 an hour. And they were guaranteed payment for 12 hours. And we're told that this was real hard work because they started at 5 or 6 in the evening and worked through the entire night. And so Peter Nevert is the late whose late husband, Arthur Richter, is here. He's an extra. And Paul Del Nero, if you're here, Paul, stand up, played in the orchestra. I know you're here, Paul. And And then Nanny Wright Talbot Brown, who was in the party scene. And Susan Clark was also in the party scene. Where are you, Susan? I know you're here, but she's downstairs. Finally, to Anne Thompson, we are so honored to have you here. This is one of my favorite journalists, and I think you'd all agree. We are so honored to have you here in Newport, and we love your style of reporting and your commitment to the environment. That's great. And she said the only thing that would stop her from coming is if anything happened to the Pope. So thank goodness the Pope was selected several weeks ago, so she is here. And I want you to know that the Today Show is here all day filming. Anne led the charge. She interviewed a lot of people here in Newport, and we are told that it will air, if all goes well, on Monday morning between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So tune in. And we've also been told that if things change, we can let you all know and tune in on Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe we'll be on the cutting room floor, who knows. And then Sam Waterston. This is a little emotional for me, but I will never forget the final emotionally charged scene when Gatsby is on his deathbed. He is waiting for that call from Daisy, the call that never came. And Nick is leaving the room, Sam Waterston is leaving the room, and you will remember this line. He turns back and says, they're a rotten crowd. You're worth the whole damn bunch put together. I really relate to that. If you've ever been rejected and your sister says, you're worth the whole damn bunch, it all comes together. And we've all been there. And then in Fitzgerald's narration in the book, he says, I've always been glad I said that. It was the only compliment I ever gave him because I disapproved of him from beginning to end. A heartbreaking story. That's The Great Gatsby. It's a book that you read when you're in high school. You never, ever forget it. So tonight, we are going to hear more from the wonderful Sam Waterston and Anne Thompson. Thank you all very much. So, David and Anne?
Thank you, Trudy, for that introduction. It's an honor to be here with everyone for the David B. Ford Lecture. My father loved history, and he loved the Preservation Society, but most importantly, he loved people. And he would have been pleased to be among this crowd, one displaying such obvious interest and wonderful camaraderie. So on his behalf, I will say thank you all for attending tonight. We're delighted that Anne Thompson will be moderating the conversation this evening. She is someone with whom many of us are familiar, as we have watched her report the news on NBC since the late 1990s. To give you a little background on her very impressive journalistic career, Anne Thompson was named NBC News' Chief Environmental Affairs Correspondent in 2007. Her reports appear across all platforms of NBC News, including NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt and Today. She previously served as the chief financial correspondent, reporting on financial and economic news for NBC News, which she joined in 1997 as a national correspondent. In 2000, Anne was NBC News' lead correspondent covering the presidential campaigns. Anne has received numerous awards and accolades over the years for her reporting. In 2004, she was awarded the Gerald Loeb Award for Distinguished Business and Financial Journalism for a series of reports that aired on Nightly News on the jobless economic recovery. She was also nominated for 4 Business and Financial News Emmys. In 2006, she received the prestigious Gerald Loeb Award again, and was part of the NBC nightly news team that won the Alfred I. DuPont Columbia Journalism Award and the Emmy Award for coverage of Hurricane Katrina. Raised and educated in Europe, Anne received her high school diploma from the International School of Brussels in Belgium. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in American Studies from University of Notre Dame, where she was elected as member of the Board of Trustees in 2010. And we are so pleased that you could join us here tonight to moderate this conversation with Sam Waterston about F. Scott Fitzgerald's classic novel and the 1973 film adaptation. I will now turn the podium over to my wife and PS board member Anne Ford, who will introduce our guest of honor.
All right, thank you, David and Trudy. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our guest of honor for the evening. An Emmy, a Golden Globe, a SAG Award, an Oscar and Tony nominations are just a few of Sam Waterston's many achievements through a long and prestigious career. He has been in some of the most memorable works of film, television, and stage. Recently, he starred in the Emmy award-winning series The Dropout, where he portrayed the polarizing figure George Schultz opposite Amanda Seyfried. Additionally, he was a lead opposite Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Martin Sheen on the Emmy-nominated Netflix original series Grace and Frankie. It ran for 7 seasons, making it the longest-running Netflix original series. Sam also co-starred alongside Jeff Daniels and Emily Mortimer in the Aaron Sorkin HBO series The Newsroom. But Sam is perhaps best known for portraying Jack McCoy on the iconic Law & Order franchise. And I am sure we might have 1 or 2 Law & Order fans in here. Before his television and movie roles, Sam started his career on the New York stage, appearing in multiple revivals of Shakespeare. His theater credits include Indians, The Trail of Catonsville 9, A Doll's House, and Hamlet. And he received rave reviews for his portrayal of Abe Lincoln in Abe Lincoln in Illinois, for which he received a Tony nomination. Moreover, he starred on the big screen in Academy Award nominated Interiors, Hannah and Her Sisters, and A September. Roland Joffe's biographical drama film, The Killing Fields, about the Khmer Rouge, earned Waterston an Academy Award nomination for his role as Sidney Schamberg. Outside the acting world, Sam served as board chair of Oceana, the world's largest ocean-focused NGO, and on the board of Refugees International. He is also a 1962 graduate of Yale University. We are just thrilled to welcome Sam Waterston to the stage here in Gatsby's mansion and to go behind the scenes for the filming with the man who played the story's narrator, Nick Carraway. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sam Waterston and Anne Thompson as they take the stage.
Can we go to dinner now?
Now we have to live up to all of this.
Should we just go to dinner?
I said to Sam, now we have to live up to all of this.
Can't be done.
No, how is it to be back here after 52 years? Is this the first time you've been back?
I honestly don't remember. I know I've been through Newport before. It seems to me that I came looking for Nick's house. But my memory is so poor that I looked for it again and only now found out for sure and for certain that it hasn't been there for a long, long time.
Where was it?
Over there.
Over there.
Yeah.
Down the lawn.
Yeah.
Was it a real house or was it?
It was a fake house. It had no kitchen, no staircase, no bathroom. But it was a sweet little house. And I thought somebody for sure would want to keep it and live in it. The caretaker cottage for this place.
What is it, when you spoke to Princeton's class day a year ago, you talked about the role of Jack McCoy, and when you retired from that role, you realized how much space it took up in your head. 52 years after making Gatsby, does Gatsby take up any space in your head?
Not in that way,
No.
but I think these really terrific parts and really terrific pieces of material change you. They change the way you think. It's easier to, The Great Gatsby, I think part of the reason that The Great Gatsby is so fascinating to all of us is because as Americans, we are bedazzled by wealth, and we also think that, like Madison said, that too much disparity between the rich and the poor is a prescription for the end of democracy. So we worry about it, and we are drawn to it like moths to a candle. And so I think that sensitivity was transferred to me. If it had been missing before, you can't be occupied with The Great Gatsby for 10 minutes without having that stamp put on you.
Take us back to 1973. And how did you get the role?
Well, I really wanted it.
I can understand why.
And I told my agent that I really wanted it. And he said, well, I don't know whether they'll give that part to you. And I said, well, you got to get me in there. You got to. But I was sort of in the advanced legions of the baby boomers. So I was going to live life my way. My hair was long, and I was covered in dungarees, and I was sort of an early stage hippie. And I went to the audition looking like an early stage hippie. And so it was hard to see through all that to the possibility that I might be able to play this part. And I don't know, it was the second or third time I saw him, Jack Clayton, who directed it, and my mother, who was an extra in this movie and was a painter, said that he was the only man that she had ever met who had light coming out of his eyes. And so he, just sitting there, he was a very impressive presence. And he said, Sam, would you mind just going into the bathroom and putting a lot of water in your hair so that we can see what you look like. So, I still have that problem today, but so I did, and that was one thing. And then the other thing that he said was, I heard this secondhand from somebody, that they thought maybe I was too ethnic. And I said, I'll have you know. And I listed all the people that my mother was related to going back to Plymouth Rock. And he said, oh, well, that might help.
Did you have to read with Mia Farrow or Robert Redford to get the part?
No, he cast me. I've thought this ever since. Never let them see you sweat is a thing that they always say, but I think hunger really is persuasive. I think,
And
if you're casting something and you see that one of these people is going to lay down his life to do it, then you think, well, at least there'll be enthusiasm, And really.
Yeah, no.
And so when it's 4 o'clock in the morning and the extras are thinking that it's time to go home, he'll be there. So I think it counts. And my teeth were bleeding. It was perfectly obvious. I just desperately wanted this part.
Why did you want it so badly? Because you had a successful career on Broadway. You were in Much Ado About Nothing. I remember seeing you on TV as Benedict.
Yeah, but show business is a mammoth gamble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was not written that everything was going to be fine and it never has been. One of my dearest friends, who's now dead, who played Wilson in The Great Gatsby, Scott Wilson, in 1 year, I think he was, maybe he still is, the only actor to have been nominated for an Academy Award in 2 different movies in the same season.
Wow.
And then fell off the edge of the world. And then got back up onto the world and everything was fine. But there was a period where he couldn't get himself arrested. And that's absolutely the way show business is. So no, there was no, I don't know whether I'll do this movie or not. I mean, who else is in it?
It was, I can remember as a kid reading about the production of Gatsby because it was such a big deal. Paramount thought it was going to be the 3rd jewel in its Triple Crown. It had Love Story, it had The Godfather, and now Robert Evans was going to produce Gatsby. And there was all this controversy around who would play Gatsby. It was offered apparently to Marlon Brando, and they couldn't agree on money, and then Warren Beatty and Jack Nicholson, and then finally Robert Redford.
I didn't know any of this. I've just learned that.
Sam, honestly, the making of this film is a movie in and of itself, and there was controversy over who would play Daisy and what have you, and so he was trying to make this blockbuster happen. Did you have any sense of how important this film was when you were on the set?
No, I mean, a little-known novel by
No pressure?
a not very important American writer. Of course, come on. But the thing you left out was that because it was announced that they were going to make The Great Gatsby, and then all these things happened.
Yeah.
The American public, designers, all of that stuff, they all got Gatsby fever long before the movie was even beginning to be shot. So, did we know that we were in a big deal? Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And I mean, Robert Redford, Mia Farrow. Come on. You have to be.
Were you cowed at all by that fact that you were acting with these 2 great stars?
Yeah. Yeah. But like I say, I thought it was my part by right and by desire and by, so I kind of thought that I would have to blow it. And I was really only anxious not to blow it. The night before the first shot that I was in, it was a shot of me looking through the window after Gatsby was long dead. It was way at the end of the movie, the first shot that I was in. And I kind of panicked because I was used to doing plays where you start at the beginning.
And go to the end. Now you're really, not only do you feel out of your league, you're out of sequence.
Exactly. And so, and I was jumping all kinds of ranks and hierarchies and other thing, and I called Jack Clayton pretty late in the evening when we were going to start shooting the next day early. And I said, I'm very worried because we haven't played all the stuff that goes before this. And I don't know whether what I do is going to fit and he said, Sam, all you're going to have to do tomorrow is look through a window. And I'm sure it'll be fine. And if it isn't, we can always do it again. Now get a good night's sleep and I'll see you in the morning.
Oh my God. Did you start shooting the movie here in Newport? Mm-hmm. You did. Yeah. And then where did you stay when you were here in Newport?
I started out staying in a hotel that I won't name because an awful thing happened. Somebody broke into my room and went through didn't steal anything, but took out everything.
Yeah. Oh.
And put photographs of my child and all that stuff out on the bed. And it was really creepy. And a really wonderful woman heard about this and offered me a place to stay, and I don't know her name. And I would love to be able to thank her.
It may be Langley. Does that ring a bell, or Langy? I thought I read in an old New York Times article.
Yes?
They said, yeah. I'll send you the article.
Well, if there's anybody related to her here.
Was the town abuzz? Do you remember the town?
Yes, I think there was a huge amount of enthusiasm because there was an invitation to anybody and everybody who wanted to be in the movie to come and be an extra. And I think there were a lot of volunteers. I know there were a lot of volunteers. I don't know whether they all came from Ocean Drive, but and my mother was one of them.
And Nanny, who is, there you are. Nanny was one of them. And she
you
struck
befriended
up,
my mother.
Yes. Yeah.
I got a little early warning about this.
So, but Nanny, like you, and like Paul, and like Susan, who are here, were all told they had to cut their hair. It was, it was the 70s, and everybody had long hair, and the women had to have a bob, and Paul's hair needed to look like the 1920s.
Yes. Yeah. And I was very willing.
You were. You know, one of the things, I know that Trudy mentioned to you that this will be on the Today Show, but one of the things I want to share with you is when I asked Sam if we could do this for the Today Show, he said, I will do it under one condition, and that is I want to talk about how wonderful my co-stars were. And I think that is one of the sweetest things I've ever heard anybody say in the many years that I've done this business. Because usually when you offer people a chance to do a story about them, They want to talk about themselves. But you wanted to talk about the wonderful people who were in this cast.
Well, first of all, Robert Redford was a mammoth star. And while we were making the movie, he was investigating whether a movie couldn't be made out of All the President's Men. So he was in an important place in his career, and he was completely genuine, feet on the ground, completely direct, totally without airs or pulling rank or no fancy business at all. And that was true of Mia, and Scott Wilson became a friend for life, and Bruce Dern. You know, Lynn and I the television set was on when we came into the room, and The Great Gatsby was just starting. This was about 5 days ago. 2 days ago. 2 weeks ago. How time flies when one has fun. Anyway, we paused, and then we sat on kitchen stools and watched the whole movie through.
Did you?
To the end. And I hadn't seen it in, I don't know, decades.
And what did you think?
I thought it was a pretty good movie. And it was wonderful to see those people. And I don't know, you really can't beat show business for fun and excitement and gratification and commitment and intimacy, and it's ferocious. It spoils you for anything else.
Yeah. You mentioned the late nights, and the extras all talked about how they would come at 6 and leave at 6 in the morning, and they fought rain and heat and all kinds of things. So aside from having your mom on the set, how did you keep things fun? How did you get through those nights?
Well, one thing we did, we were always after, there was a guy, there were a lot of priceless jewels that were guarded by this guy who had padlocked a briefcase to his hand, and he carried the jewels around in the briefcase, and then for a shot, somebody would get this necklace put on, and then it would go back in the briefcase. So we were always on his case to open up the briefcase and show us what was in it. And no. And then sometime, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, his judgment failed him. And he, upstairs here, you know, in one of the rooms up here, he spread all this stuff out on the bed. And, you know, there are jewels, and then there's an abundance of jewels. It's like Alibaba's cave or something. It was terrific. So that passed the time.
Yeah. You said that Redford was down to earth, a very collaborative partner in this. How? I mean, here you are, you're the striver, you're the guy whose teeth are bleeding to do this part. Did he put you at ease? I mean, when you started shooting, how did you control that energy when you're around someone who has come off Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting, and The Way We Were, and now he's standing in front of you?
Well, I mean, I think there was a little bit, I don't really remember, but I think there was a little bit of speaking when you're spoken to, you know.
Yeah. Well.
But I do remember he came came over, I forget where we were, and he said, so, something like, how do you like it so far? And I said, it's wonderful, it's great, it's terrific. And he said, people are being nice to you? And I said, they're being wonderful to me. They're being absolutely fabulous. I've never been so well treated in my life. He said, don't be fooled. It's not love. They want something that you've got. Don't mistake it for love. That was really good. He also told, I don't know whether it was when we were shooting this movie, but he told a wonderful story about himself on, I'm going to forget the name of the street, but it leads up to Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And he's walking up the street, and a convertible with a bunch of young men in it. He's walking, and they pull up, and they start driving really slowly, so they're keeping pace with him. And they're saying, "You're Robert Redford, right? Come on, you're Robert Redford." And he puts his head down, and he keeps on walking. And, "Come on, tell us you're Robert Redford, come on." Finally he says, "Okay, I'm Robert Redford." And they say, "You stink!" And they all drive off. And he told that story on himself, and it's the same story. It's don't get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Really
Mia
good.
Farrow, you went on to do Hannah and Her Sisters with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And we did a movie in Ireland together, Miracle at Midnight. Yeah. This year, in which I did with The Great Gatsby, really changed things enormously for a whole lifetime. And that's one of the nice things about being here is, well, there are two nice things. One is to be able to, when you do plays, and you get to the end of the play, the audience claps and the actors bow, and the bow is kind of a thank you for the applause. But it's an exchange for the applause. And you don't really very often get to say to the people who have bothered to watch you for a long, long time, thank you very much. And so it's really nice to be in a place where you can say thank you very much.
Gatsby did change your career.
Yes.
It like put it on the fast track. You were nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the Golden Globe and Best Newcomer. What doors did Gatsby open for you as an actor?
Well, we'd have to go back and review the record because whatever followed followed from it.
Yeah.
And my memory's not good enough to tell you exactly what the next thing was. But yes, indeed, it changed things. But going back to what I said before, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No.
And as an actor, you don't know that. It's very possible that you'll fall off the edge of the world.
But you didn't. You went on to do The Killing Fields. Were nominated for an Oscar. You did, as we mentioned, Hannah and Her Sisters, Interiors, September. Then, of course, Law and Order. I mean, it's been an extraordinary career that was jump-started.
And not to quibble, but you're leaving out Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I'm so sorry. See, I told Sam earlier today, I said, I'm so happy to do this because it's not my day job. So it's like history, anything like news, over here. No, but that's true. I did leave out Abraham Lincoln. And you were nominated for a Tony for that performance as well, right? Yeah.
Well, and then it was we did it on television. And then Harold Holzer wrote an evening called Lincoln Seen and Heard, and we did it at various presidential libraries, and President Bush Sr. liked it and told his son, who was the President of the United States, and they invited us to go and do it at the White House, so we really got around.
Okay, so the question is, which is nicer, the White House or Rosecliff?
You know what? There are similarities. There really are. It's true. I think the columns at the White House are Corinthian too, aren't they?
I am not.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't even have the excuse that I don't remember. I just flat out don't know. This house.
But anyway, they're both classical.
Yeah. This house was essentially a character in the film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did it represent from your standpoint in the movie?
Well, from my standpoint, from Fitzgerald's standpoint, it seems to me that these houses all represented M-O-N-E-Y. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what that was probably part of the motivation in building them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you look at this and you think of all the other ways that you could spend the money and that would be more of a waste. Mm-hmm. This is money well spent. Yeah. But it's a lot of money. I mean, didn't we just hear that it cost $7.5 million to fix it up?
Yeah, just to renovate it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine what it would cost to build it new today.
I think I read $65 million if it was in today's dollars. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. One of my favorite scenes in the film is played right out here, and it's your last scene with Gatsby. And tell me about that scene and what you added to that scene and why.
So we were talking about this earlier. It was out there on the steps. Gatsby was on one of the upper steps leading down to the lawn, and I was on a lower step talking up to him. And in these days, to make a big movie like this on film, it was like, it was an army. Everything was huge and heavy. The lights were like this. These wouldn't even get to be extras. They were just all huge, and you had big guys, longshoremen would take these two great big sticks of carbon and install them in the lights, and then the electricity would jump from one arc to the other and burn up the arc, and that made the light. And I mean, it was all big, and anyway, it was impressive. And this was the shot for the end of the day when we were going to break at lunchtime and move to New York. So there was going to be a lot of lifting and moving and all of that stuff, and everybody was looking forward to the shot being over. And so we played the scene, and it ended in a shot on Bob, and then I said the line that was quoted just a little while ago. Does anybody?
That you were better.
They're a rotten crowd. You're worth a whole bunch of them put together or something. And okay, that's fine, and we'll all move to New York. But the last setup was of Bob watching me walk off across the lawn, and I went and walked off across the lawn to give him something to look at. And as I was going, I waved to him back there. So on my back, and Jack saw it. And he said, let's just turn around and get a picture of that. Oh my God, we have to turn around, everything. We thought we were going to have lunch and go to New York. And it's in the movie and it's good.
And it's not in the book and it's not in the script. That's Sam Waterston adding to the book. All right, now I have terrorized you long enough, so now it's your turn to ask Sam some questions, and we have 2 microphones here. So there's a woman over here who's got her hand up.
Thank you so much. Hello. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hi.
I'm Lori Urso from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I'm a huge fan of the film. Literally, I've watched it about 25 times. You're incredible in it. But my question is, in the opening scene where you're navigating the little boat, did you fall over? I mean, you're spinning around, there's a big boat next to you, you're trying to get a hat. How did you learn to navigate a little boat like that?
Well, as kids, we all grew up sailing in little boats. Littler boats than that.
Yeah.
But I think the idea was that I was sailing around with a hat on and the wind blew it off.
Right.
I think that was part of the story.
And you had to turn around and grab the hat while you were holding a little trolling motor, and it's quite an impressive performance. You were watch it again and see what I mean.
Well, you were absolutely right, and I remember driving a little motorboat, but I have a distinct memory of also being in a sailboat, which can't be true.
No. Well, thank you very much. It's so great to hear you today.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi.
So excited to ask you this question. Could you talk to us about the shirt scene, please? And just any insight of how it was to shoot it and what you think the scene is trying to tell us about the relationship between Daisy and Gatsby and Wealth, Daisy and Wealth.
Well, I think it may be in a way that I think Jack Clayton was maybe a little less bedazzled by American Wealth than Scott Fitzgerald was. And so I think there were there were 4 characters because Nick was watching, but there were, the 4th character was money. And so the shirts were, I have just all of everything. I have everything. I have so much, it makes me laugh. It's crazy. Who would have ever thought? Have another shirt. I think that's what it was for.
Do we have another question?
Who else has a question? Over here.
And I think Jack Clayton was much more ambivalent about what that does to a person. And then, of course, that's also Fitzgerald's point by the end of the movie, that it's corrosive. Mm-hmm. So, gotta be careful.
They were careless people,
They were
Tom and
careless
Daisy.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Hi. When you read the book, The Great Gatsby, did you ever imagine that would be a movie? And did you ever imagine yourself playing the part that you did in that movie? And number 2, what were your thoughts about the remake of The Great Gatsby?
I haven't seen any of the remakes, and I also haven't seen the Alan Ladd version, which I hope to see someday.
Well, there's nothing like the original. Nothing at all like the original.
I'm glad to hear it. And your first question was, did I ever think that was ever going to happen? No. But when it came up, I really did think that it had my number on it. I agree. Well, I'm glad you think so. I mean, it's more important that you think so than that I think so. But it really did feel like, I mean, I don't think I've ever really talked about this, but my family grew up near money without having any. And I think that's like Nick. Yeah. So I think that's where. And if you have that experience, there's a built-in kind of distance.
Hello, Sam. Remember seeing so much of Frankie and Grace, and then since that time, you and the cast of Frankie and Grace have done amazing things politically, and I support that. Having grown up in Connecticut myself in Torrington, Litchfield County area, what would your words be for hope in our world today? Hope for our world today.
Well, in the context that you're asking the question, we don't have time for an answer to it, but the short form is that there isn't any alternative to hope. That faith, hope, and charity, right? And of these three, charity, which is more properly translated as love. But we're a long way away from The Great Gatsby now.
As an English teacher and one of your neighbors up in the northwest corner, having seen all of the versions of Gatsby, English teachers are prone to do that. This version is obviously the best, for sure. And I'm glad you brought up the idea. Scott Wilson is at the end of the movie, if it doesn't work with Scott Wilson, it wouldn't have worked. But that whole end, last 15 minutes of the movie, and the book itself, of course, but it's absolutely so good. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because Scott Wilson and Karen Black in the movie are just so important. The students are very critical of Daisy. Always now. They're very modern kids. They look at Daisy and go, oh my God, he was blind. She wasn't worth it. And those last 15 minutes of the movie, you as a narrator are seeing all this, and you understand that they're a rotten crowd, and the kids all agree with you, let me tell you. So you do that so well, and I'm sorry, I love the backward wave. For some reason, that just made me think of, he's really got it.
I appreciate that, and I have to say that I owe it to my father, because it was he was English, and it was the kind of I'm with you and I'm leaving both at the same time sort of thing that an Englishman can do like nobody else. The other thing that I will say as an English teacher is that there's reading The Great Gatsby, and then there's reading it aloud. And my daughter and I, because it's a whole lot funnier when you read it aloud, because the sentences are all dripping with this irony of this, seeing it both ways. Aren't they fascinating and aren't they awful? Both at the same time, back and forth, back and forth. And you read a description of a car driving down the road or something, and you don't see it when you're reading it, or at least I didn't. But my daughter Elizabeth and I were doing Much Ado About Nothing in Central Park, and the New York Times was doing a summer reading thing where they would have people from show business reading in various bookstores and stuff like that. And we were at the bookstore at the time Warner Building, and we prepared, and we were ready, and we sat down, we started to read, and every sentence that we read, the audience started to chortle. Because they were so tickled by the language itself and by this double point of view.
What is it that you think, if I may, for a last question, what is it that makes this book relevant 100 years after it was written? And why is it that every generation seems to want to put its stamp on this story?
I think it's what we've been talking about, isn't it? That we as Americans do not have a settled relationship with wealth and power. We don't. We're as fascinated by it as anybody else, and we would like to have it all as much as anybody else. And at the same time, we have the Declaration of Independence and the whole idea of a country where power flows from the bottom to the top, not from the top to the bottom. But it's been flowing both ways from the beginning, and this book does that, tells that, talks about that, makes that vivid in the midst of a really impossible romance. So.
Sam, thank you for a delightful conversation.
Thank you. You are so easy to talk to.
But what I'm ruining your standing ovation. I just wanted to add that when I see that Sam Waterston is in a TV show, is in a Broadway play, is in a movie, I always think it's worth my time because it was worth your time. Thank you for thought-provoking entertainment.
While you were all clapping, so thank you very much. I was trying to say to Anne that you are so easy to talk to, and it was just a gigantic pleasure. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you all.
On behalf of the Preservation Society, we thank both Sam Waterston, Anne Thompson, and all of you for being here tonight.